His Holiness always says we need to practice something very relevant. And that he always says Nalanda tradition, very important. So this book really represents how without the help of Nalanda tradition, you cannot explore into the world of Buddhism. My name is Serkong Rinpoche, too, because my predecessor is known as Serkong Rinpoche, and I'm known as his reincarnation. On this path of journey of Buddha, you might find so many amazing teachers and support. But if this kind of support, if this kind of teaching is missed, then I think maybe it will be very sad. Actually, we are losing our goal. I'm not such a perfect teacher to give this kind of share this kind of knowledge, but I thought, like, at the end, if I could say something like this, that will bring a huge offering to His Holiness, what He has been so kind to me, so that if I could just repeat and remind this, so that will be a great service for His Holiness and for the sake of sentient beings. If you lose this, and then how much you practice others, it will never take you to the liberation. It will never give you the real meaning of the Dharma there. So you need to come back. So this is the main reason why this text becomes very important as a great reminder.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Wisdom Dharma Chat. Actually, happy Losa Tashi Delek, very auspicious day for us to be all gathering together, and it's very precious because we get to warmly welcome back Serkong Sensha Rinpoche. Welcome back, Rinpoche. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Daniel.
And Rinpoche is joining us from Dharamsala. I think it's like 5:30 a.m. And we are also joined by Farbizio Pallotti and Atisha Mathur. Actually, Farbizio is in Italy, and it's 1 a.m. there. So Farbizio, thank you for joining us under such circumstances. Farbizio is, of course, His Holiness is an Italian interpreter, and is a great scholar and teacher in his own right. Connected with Institute Lama Tsongkhapa and also the Serkong Institute, which we're going to talk a lot about today. And then Atisha Mathur, who is also, studied at Seni Lobdra, is very close with Rinpoche and Rinpoche's teacher, and is one of the lecturers and probably, the lecturers at the Serkong Institute. And so today I thought we have a topic, and today's topic is Buddhist education in the modern world, right? And so we have two things going on. Of course, Rinpoche was so kind to record a Wisdom Academy course with us, and we're launching that. We're so excited. We're launching that very soon. I think that launches March 21. You saw the trailer there. And I also wanted to play that trailer just to give people who don't know a sense of Rinpoche's activities. And, he is an expression of His Holiness's teachings, so kind to come to the West and teach us in English, and it's just incredible. So, but more than that, Rinpoche is doing something truly remarkable with Atisha and Farbizio, and this is through the Serkong Institute. And so I really wanted to talk about, this collaboration with the University of Pisa, and I thought maybe, Rinpoche, we start with you, like, what was your vision behind this Serkong Institute, and why do you think it's important to connect with Western institutes of learning, such as the University of Pisa?
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for giving us this opportunity. Um, so now, as His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, that modern education is not always enough to to be at least to become a good person. Modern education is not enough. So somehow we need some kind of approach. So and then to narrow it down. Now these days, there are so many uh, uh, young Buddhists. They are finding so many materials through so many people, so many teachers, so many platform like through online AI.
Mm.
So it's a big challenge for uh, the people who is finding Dharma if they don't get a good guidance through a right direction. That was the greatest worry. So if we remember His Holiness' way of teaching, he never emphasized anything else than just we need to go through right approach through Nalanda tradition. He always drag us there. Even we sometimes go like again, he's always saying that Nalanda tradition again, but then he always drag us there and always push us actually very gently. So now, as through his kindness, what the Serkong Institute is stepping in is many um uh, people who are finding Dharma with so many guidance out there. We sometimes worry that if they are writing the right antidote. For that reason, uh, uh, as His Holiness always says, if the one person who does not have a right understanding on the Four Noble Truths very well, and especially not just having a quite understanding on a liberation, and you think that I'm a practicing a Dharma, it's it's not enough. It's not you're not ready on the path, actually, on the path. So for that reason, um, the Serkong Institute's main mission actually is uh, to to ask you a question saying, are you finding the right path? If not, then let us help you with His Holiness vision, and then see whether uh, uh, this approach uh, is uh, suitable for you or not. So give us this kind of a moment to uh, reflect on that. So this is our main mission actually, to sit with you and then just debate a little bit with you, and then uh, give you few understandings of the great scholars like Dharmakirti and Chandrakirti and all these great masters. And then we'll let you go with this understanding. And then you can connect to any other lamas or gishis or rinpoches and explore the world of Dharma. So then our mission is finished. So before that, we really wanted to give this kind of guidelines. This is why the Serkong Institute becomes quite important for us to uh, to introduce you to the world.
I think it's so important that people can have confidence that the way they're spending their time is meaningful, in that you study Dharma, you know you are studying authentic Dharma and that it's leading you somewhere. And so sometimes you might think you're studying Dharma, but you don't really, how do you check? How do you know if I'm doing it, if I'm on the right path? So this is incredibly important. And I wanted to ask maybe Atisha, who studied in the monasteries, right? And, Westerner going to Dharamsala, studying in the monastery. And what was that like? Because I imagine it was completely different to, different sort of way of learning, actually. And so if you could tell us a little bit about, the unique ways of the monastic education, let's say, or Buddhist education.
much. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, it's true. But more than the funny part, I think was uh, it's unique and it seemed very shrouded in mystery before I did it. But then when you go into it, it's so well structured and it's so clear cut and it's so organized that I was almost surprised. I mean, I grew up in a Buddhist family and my parents were Buddhists, and so they would drag me to teachings my whole life. And then even engaging with them and their friends, I always noticed that, or at least I personally felt that there was something missing in my ability to string all of these things together. And like you said, being able to feel sufficient in one's understanding, or at least know that one is generally moving in the right direction and has all the like the basic tools to be able to navigate this world. But then having access to monastic education, it was so obvious the structure that they had, and it was so well planned and well laid out that I was almost surprised at how absent it is in our modern context to know exactly which subjects need to be done, what is a starting point, what is a preliminary, what comes afterwards. That was the most eye-opening thing was that just beyond this wall of a monastic institution and ordinary normal world, there's such a divide in what we're unable to understand and realize is actually such a well-established and such a clear-cut system that joining it, of course, I had my own personal fun and that was great. But the takeaway was that the Dharma has been structured and it has been essentialized and distilled in such a perfect manner. And it's so shocking and surprising that we're unaware of it, both in terms of the way the subjects are structured and the content, and also the way that you approach it, which is in this kind of analytical way, which is so natural and spontaneous for someone who is brought up in that system. I found that the strangest, most stark contrast between our world and that world.
Yeah, that's incredible because maybe a lot of Western Dharma students are unaware of the structure and how like that's a science in itself, the way you are taught in subjects. And sometimes it feels like in the West, because depending on which teacher's coming through or what they're doing or when you turn up, it's like walking to a university and just randomly going into a class and sitting down and taking notes, right? It's like, what is this class? And then you just decide maybe 6 months I'll come and do another class, right? You are structuring your Dharma sort of education when there's a whole hundreds of years of way of doing this. That does seem maybe very foreign for us when we look at it from the outside and this shouting and debating, and it's like, what's going on there? But letting us, I think if the Serkong Institute is teaching us that as well, what is the structure, how to start, how do I move to the next subjects, how do all these subjects link together? Fabrizio, I want to ask you because you have spent years and years traveling the world, actually translating for great lamas and teaching, and so you've seen around the world the way Buddhism has been taught and how and the things that the Western students have struggled with, or there might be gaps in knowledge. What do you think? What do you see as special about the Serkong Institute and this new series of teachings that are coming up?
Well, Daniel, thank you very much for having me here with this incredible panel of people, among them also one of my teacher for 2 lives now. I was connected with Serkong Rinpoche past life as well. And also now I have the opportunity of serving in in a very humble way. Well, what Rinpoche said, it resonates with me very much. His Holiness so innovative way of teaching the Dharma to the Western world, which is unlike anybody else, I must say. I've been with so many incredible teachers, so many incredible lamas, but really no one is really like His Holiness. So perceiving clearly what is needed in the Western world and how the wisdom that comes from Nalanda tradition, as Rinpoche said, that His Holiness stresses so much that sometimes you wonder, oh, His Holiness is still saying Nalanda tradition. But once you see the importance of it, then it really strikes an important point. We are, I mean, this is really very much my way of seeing, of being a part of this huge wave of transmissions, which started from Nalanda tradition and went to Tibet with Shantarakshita and Trisong Densen, and that was the pure Nalanda tradition. That it began with the the sharpest of the logicians at that time, and it started in that way. And for some reason, Tibetans, I mean, go figure. These people who live so far in the world, they're all mountain people, like really, like the epitome of mountain people. They figure out how to develop the path of logic and penetrate reality to unbelievable level. While preserving the entire tradition of sutra and tantras and practice and what we call now cognitive sciences and meditations. It's just incredible. And then with Tibet and losing on China and coming to India, for some reason this was a catalyst to spill this incredible wave of wisdom to us. It came because of that. So now we are still, like 40, 50 years of Buddhism in the West, which I've been part almost since the beginning. And as you said, there was something missing. And what is missing is really the heart of Nalanda tradition. I've been studying very much in the Western Dharma sort of environment with FPNT. I did 2 master programs, basic programs. I did translations and everything. And yet, it's just what is missing is exactly what the Serkong Institute is bringing about, the critical, teaching the critical thinking, how to approach critically with wisdom each and every topics and develop this logic to such a level which for us Westerners, I think what I personally think is going to be so natural. It's going to be so natural. Immediately you can see the incredible potential of such a thing. That's why I kind of dove into it when Rinpoche told me, let's do this, say, yes, let's do it. I didn't even know where to start, to tell you the truth, but I said, this is exactly what His Holiness, the Dalai Lama's tells us about his view, his vision. And I must say personally, His Holiness told me, if Buddhism in the West if develops on the basis of the Nalanda tradition, then we have a chance for Buddhism to remain in the world for a long time. Otherwise, if it's just rituals and practices, I don't know about that. This is personally, he told me that, so that I felt it deeply, because I want the benefit that I've received throughout my life to go to everybody. So we are here for that.
Thank you so much. Rinpoche, you studied at Serong Monastery, and then you also went to Canada. And so you had a little bit of the opposite experience from the monastic training into the Western education system. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about maybe the differences you see, but also if you could start to give us a little hint about this structure that we've been talking about. How is the Buddhist education structured in this unique way, Rinpoche?
Okay. First of all, I finished my studies from Ganden Changze, not from Serche. So I need to.
Gondang
So I need
Rinpoche.
sometimes I need to go back to my monastery. If I accept that, then I will be in trouble. Just kidding. uh, uh, well, actually, my purpose to going to Canada to improve my English is to actually communicate a Dharma with the Western people. So the purpose of me going there is to just improve my English because I never had a modern education like learning English. So, well, when I was studying there, I see so many great things actually, to be honest. The culture and the behaviors of the people and the respect. And then also way of giving the education is a bit different from from India and also from the Tibetan community. So some things I really respect that a lot. But now the problem always start with because this modern education is designed for you to communicate with um, uh, to bring more the why you study there in Canada. For my purpose, I'm the only one to learn English is for Dharma. So to communicate Dharma to the other people. But most of my classmates for they have to use this to make a living to their profession is different. So there are so many wonderful things, but today we don't have a time to share here. But the most important, the structure that what Atisha just told was an interesting one because many in this world still people think like we don't need this kind of structure way of this critical way of thinking. This sometimes we call it debate, but then. Well, because as Daniel, you mentioned, like in the university, if somebody just step in without understanding what the professor has taught past 2 days or 3 days, you will get lost. It doesn't necessarily mean that topic is or this structure is boring. You are not getting the right way of understanding. That's the main problem. People never uh, go and ask this kind of question to yourself. They will judge from, oh, this sounds boring, or what is this? Why this is so interesting to other people? So, as Adisha said, this is a very good question to Adisha. Also, you can ask directly to Adisha. But most important, when we go through the great masters, Nalanda masters text by like Chandrakirti, clear words. But then time to time, he will pause and say, uh, still it does not clear the doubt. Still it does not clear the doubts. He will repeat that again and again. So what does that mean actually? So with this kind of techniques to clear the doubts, without the Paramanas way of approach, so it is very difficult to reach to the understanding of the viewpoint actually. So when we say the right view, so if we talk about right view, and there's also wrong view and mistaken, and then there's a contradiction. So with this kind of a language, without this kind of a language, without this kind of understanding, so how much you say on a right path, right view. So there is no other way to clear this out. So no matter what, without this help of a Dharmakirti's way of approach in a pramana, and then and also adding more important master Nagarjuna, His Holiness Dalai Lama's hero. without this approach of their way of thinking, and then somebody says the realization, giving a realization or the introduction to realization to that, it becomes so kind of mild, not really authentic. So that was the greatest worry. So yeah, I just wanted to say something like that. And then for the structure, I will leave that to Atisha because he brought that up.
I'll ask Atisha about the structure. Rinpoche, there's one thing I want to sort of highlight, because as I'm hearing you speak, and also Fabrizio and Atisha, it seems that what you're developing is a way of learning that is a bit more interactive than we're used to, in a way, because it feels like the world's going one way where already in the Dharma world, it seems like you go to the class, maybe you can ask some questions at the end, but there's not much interaction. And maybe if the class has got 20, 30, 40, maybe, huge class, the teacher doesn't really know the students what they're doing or what they're thinking or how much they really understood, because there's not this interaction, right? And then they're not debating. There's you're not with each other checking what did you learn, what did you understand, and it feels like the world's gonna be worse on that. With If I'm just at home asking AI to teach me Dharma, then it's all this passive learning. There's no checking of what I understood. Like, I have a confession, Rinpoche. Actually, I before I came here, of course I know Rinpoche and I respect Rinpoche a lot. But then I was just coming. Oh, I better just get some um, introduction bio from Rinpoche. So I said to AI, can you give Rinpoche's biography to me, just some points? It says Rinpoche was born in 1984 and trained at Sarah J Monastery, right? So we can't trust anything. Imagine I'm asking, what is the Four Noble Truths, right? And in my mind, I didn't even question, Of course, Rinpoche is from London, yeah? So this is an example. And this interaction we had, right, where Rinpoche said, oh, actually, I'm from Ghana. If you don't have this checking with the authority or with someone who knows, how do you really learn? Otherwise, you're just ignorance leading ignorance, my ignorance leading me with AI. So I thought this was a good example of the way the world's going. And then this Serkong Institute's like a line in the sand. No, we are going to do things differently. And so, Atisha, I just wanted to say that. It just occurred to me. So, Atisha, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the structure?
You're describing things so well, my God. Thanks. It's really like that. It's like randomly walking in as an auditor into a university and piecemealing your curriculum. Or like you want to learn music, but you know that that's conservative. You can go and study, or you can just learn off of YouTube. You want to become an architect, you just toy around with ideas. It's kind of like that's how I did it, at least. And that's how I unfortunately felt a lot of the previous generation did it. And the structure, I mean, okay, so there's two things I think. One is the structure in terms of the subjects and the way they've been divided. And that's really nothing new, because if you look at the Kangyur and the Tengyur, especially the Tengyur, it has been divided in those structures, which is there is teachings on the view, which are essential. Then there are teachings on the stages of the path that you traverse when you have that view. And then there is pramana or tsema, which is the tools that you can use to navigate and make sure that you're correct in your understanding. So on the one hand, I mean, then there's of course Abhidharma, Vinaya, and then there's Tantra, but just as the main core subjects that are first taught in Tibetan, they abbreviate it into Upartsesum, which is Pramana, Abhisamaya, Madhyamaka. And this kind of really forms a whole backbone where at the end of having this study, having completed these studies, an individual knows where they stand, where they want to get to, what the stages are, what view it is required to get there, and is empowered with the tools to be able to analyze for themselves as far as the content goes. And this is so standard and has been going on for 2000 years almost, that it's a tried and tested method. It's not really uh, new in that sense. And because it stood the test of time, it's surprising that as a modern world approaching Dharma, some of us are so unaware, or it still sounds so alien, And of course, another thing is we're very resistant to anything that is kind of orthodox or structured, and so we want to do it our own way, but it doesn't necessarily always work. So, like you said, a line in the sand. And the other part, which you said, if I quickly may, which is uh, the difference between studying Dharma, I feel, and other topics is when you're studying these topics or when you're studying Dharma, you're studying something that's very counterintuitive. It's not necessarily obvious because if we start from the purpose, the Buddha is dealing with things that are diametrically opposite from the way that we perceive and we believe the world to be. So, like you said, if you just hear something and you take it for granted, oftentimes what you're taking for granted is a view that you already have and you're essentially reinforcing it. Whereas again, traditionally with the tool of this debate, what you're doing is you're checking your own thought and you're doing it in a courtyard with a lot of other people who'll be thinking about it differently, the same thing from a different point of view. And suddenly you might realize day in and day out that your way of thinking about it actually might not be accurate. So you're equipped with the tool to think about it critically, and you are placed in an environment that's furthering and fostering your own doubt so that you can actually come to a, I mean, as close an understanding as was the intention of the Buddha and then the masters who've taught after that, which I think is something extremely precious, and that's what I meant by structure.
Thank you. Could you elaborate a little bit more on how this interaction happens? So just like I'm gonna go to a class, you'll give a lecture. How does the interaction happen? And maybe you can talk a little bit about debate here.
So traditionally, it's kind of like what you said. A teacher would go into class, and before they would start the class, they have there's like a preliminary training, which are those introductory subjects, and you're taught how to debate. So traditionally, and I do believe this is not unique only to Buddhism, but it's kind of really grounded in Indian tradition, where before you study texts, you're taught how to debate. And so you're taught the language of debate. Again, debate doesn't necessarily entail this whole kind of physical component of being loud. And, it's a little uneasy for us Westerners to adopt that style. But it's essentially it's like a tool, a critical thinking tool. And so you are taught this initially, and then the classes are that's the language that they use. So typically the professors or the teachers, they would teach the text through this medium of debate, and they would challenge the students a little bit to see how they're understanding the text. And then everyone goes off into debate sessions during the course of the day. In the monasteries, they do longer ones. Here at Serkong Institute, we're doing slightly shorter ones. But you do it in pairs where you break off into pairs, and there is typically one person who answers, one person who questions. And again, the way that they're doing it is in this language which they are taught, which is very essentialized. So it's not like our understanding of debate where you have to present your entire understanding or your views, and then another person presents their views, and then the one that seems most convincing wins. It's a step-by-step process where you gradually elaborate and you gradually investigate one topic in depth through this tool or this skill that you learn. And I think the closest I can think is like the dialectic method that the Greeks developed is very similar to this one. So maybe for a Western mind, that would be an easier way to look at it. So it's essentially an ongoing, evolving process that arises out of a discussion. It's not something that's prepared in advance. And so in the monasteries, we do 2 sessions. At Serkong Institute also, we've been trying to do 2 sessions. So typically there would be a class with a teacher who will teach you the text through this and bring up certain doubts. And then the students will break off into debate sessions twice a day where they debate in pairs, and then they have these group debates, which is like a smaller group of many people. And you're learning how other people are thinking about it, and then you're testing whether your way of understanding it or their way of understanding is accurate. And over the span of whatever period you study, you start from one understanding and suddenly you refine it to a much more, I guess, I don't know, like more convincing. It gives you a lot more conviction and it makes you feel a lot more grounded in what you're doing, I guess.
It all sounds very helpful to getting down the ego. Because I imagine you walk into a classroom and if you don't have to be tested, you can just sit back, relax. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. It's so easy for sometimes you think you understand something and then you have to explain it, and you don't. It's not until you try and explain it that you realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't really understand that. And then if someone else is doing that to you, it can be quite humbling. So this is almost like a therapeutic approach to studying Dharma as well. Fabrizio, what we're going to do is show a video of some debate. Before we do that, I was going to ask Fabrizio, Atisha mentioned this special debate language, right? This type of special debate, like there's this structure of debate language. And I'm wondering if you could talk to us about a little bit what that looks like and how that sort of translates into English and Italian and other languages. And then we'll show the video, and then I was hoping Rinpoche could tell us a little bit about what we just saw in the video. So Fabrizio, this special debate language.
Well, Daniel, I mean, this is the most qualified here is definitely Atisha, because Atisha's specialty is he has developed this special language from Tibetan into Western language, into English. He has developed it, actually. I think he's a pioneer in this. So it's really best to ask Atisha. But suffice to say is that Serkong Institute is bringing this language for the first time into the Western world in two languages now, English and Italian. There will be more languages for sure following, but not just as a learning tool for the debate itself. On the basis of the text that His Holiness the Dalai Lama extracted from the Tangyur, the Sciences and Philosophy in the Indian Buddhist classic, which is particularly powerful. So I will divert the profound explanation of the language tool to Atisha, if you would. But I saw a question coming up from one of Atisha's students, because he's doing separately from Serkong Institute now for 5-6 years. We started sort of together in the sense that I kind of dragged Atisha into teaching debate to Western people, to Italians, when I was working at Lama Tsongkhapa Institute, and then now it's an ongoing thing. And a student asked, what is the difference in Serkong Institute and the classes that Atisha already doing? I think Atisha could link this very well, explaining also the language of the debate. For instance, in the first two books of Science and Philosophy, the map of debate is there. The map of debate, some hints of debate, but with the Serkong Institute, we actually take the subjects of that book, translated into critical thinking and debate. This is quite incredible, actually. So allowed me to throw the ball into Atisha's courtyard.
Well, why don't we go to the video? Then
Yes.
Rinpoche can tell us a little bit about what we saw, and then Atisha can take us into the structure and the language. Maybe that's a good way to go. So right now we'll go to we can watch the video. Sammy, if you could line that up. Thank you.
So take the I sense faculty and follow it as the uncommon and governing condition of I consciousness. So take I consciousness, it follows it as a location. Take the I consciousness, it follows it pervades the I sense faculty. So it follows the I sense faculty is not the uncommon governing condition of I consciousness. Because the entire I sense faculty is not the governing condition, and each individual part of I sense faculty is not the governing condition.
So it follows that the realization of impermanence leads to the realization of suffering. Because without realizing impermanence, you cannot realize suffering. Wonderful vision.
So Rinpoche, what did we just see there?
That was that's a very short one, and that we couldn't tell much because it's like we are not getting the whole chunk there. As we said, if you walk into classroom and you see some professor talking, and then you are not getting the whole picture, then this might be quite confusing. But anyway, in here in the video, you can see because they are speaking in the English and debating in the English, so I couldn't follow up that much. Uh, so here, the most important part, as you can see, the two people are holding to their thesis, and then their debate partners are asking and uh, 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 kind of giving them a bit difficult time to answer. This, as we discuss here, saying it is such an important method. So sometimes you think you know it, and then some people will ask you a question, and then it will go to this some next level to give yourself such a concentration. You will concentrate so well. Normally, if you are surrounded by so many people asking, and then you will think, oh, what should I say? Or what will people think? But in this debate courtyard, you are so whole to your thesis, and your concentration level becomes so high. And then from that, you will get so many kinds of positive doubts, so that you can bring that to your teacher, and then you can take that back to your own cushion, and then sit down and reflect on that. So normally, how much you meditate, you will not get that kind of a concentration. But through this debate courtyard, you get this kind of a thesis, this kind of a idea, this kind of a reflection. So this is something, as His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, if somebody asks me which is better, to do a retreat on Manjushri or to go for 3 years debate, His Holiness says, I recommend the debate. So this is something. And then maybe I will throw the ball back to Atisha, because he's the main teacher who confuses the students there. So he has the more better answer.
Yeah, Tisha, please. I was fascinated by it. I just saw that first one and I was like, wow, these people are really learning something special. I always thought the Mikwang was the Dakyan. So I'm like, oh, what is the answer here? But please tell us what we just saw and maybe the argument a little bit.
The argument is really cool because I have to be honest, I never thought of it like that as well. When he debated this, I was stumped. I was like, oh, wait, I've never thought of it like that ever. But the argument was, yeah, how does perception arise? And the way that he was arguing it was he was trying to see if there is a physical base for perception, then is that entire thing leading to perception, or are there individual parts of it that are leading to perception, suggesting that if it's individual parts, you would have to have different states of perception. If it was one thing, then there's that constant dilemma about one thing being imputed. And so how can one thing be functioning in a certain way? But I'd never ever, so that's the beauty of it in a sense. He had this doubt, which he elaborated himself. And this was relatively in the beginning of this year. And he brought about a doubt that I'd never ever heard of. And if you notice on the sides, Rinpoche is sitting on one side, and on the other side, Rinpoche's teacher, and then Rinpoche's teacher's teacher. And I was translating the debate for them. And even again, he looked at it and he said, oh, that's an interesting debate. And then he started giving answers on the side of how he would have answered. So it's essentially you're elaborating your own doubts. And I don't think it's fair to say that I'm a pioneer, because when Fabrizio kind of pulled me in this direction, I was just going off of it's been developed. Like I think people like Jeffrey Hopkins and Daniel Perdue, and especially Perdue in his text, the language had already been translated And His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been pushing for Tibetan schools to incorporate it. So TCV has been doing it. Before I started it, some of our teachers at IBD were doing it in Vietnamese online. So it's been happening for a very long time. The language was already existing. It was just a question of taking it and making people debate in it or use it, I guess, not even debate in it. Use the language to speak instead of it becoming another subject that they would study. So that's what we're doing. The thing that I think I'm realizing is from our point of view of people who've done it, it just seems natural. From people who are looking from outside, it still seems very mystical or kind of, I don't know, it still seems difficult or hard to get to. Actually, it's very simple. It's another way of speaking. It's just a way of structuring an argument in a very efficient little sentence and then finding the components of your, identifying the components of your argument and testing them. And I think as if it becomes bigger and hopefully it does, then we'll refine this language and make it more natural because right now it's still in its initial stages. So sometimes it still sounds a little artificial, but yeah.
Could you maybe it might be helpful to use an example and put that example in in the language? So we could use the famous fire and smoke. Could
Right.
you talk about that and give us an example?
Do you mind if we switch the example to another one? Because
Yeah,
there's one
and
that's a little more
yeah.
pertinent. So for instance, that second clip that you saw where there was three people who were asking, they were asking whether uh, the realization of impermanence has to lead to a realization of suffering. And that's going off of a statement that Acharya Dharmakirti gives in the Pramanavartika. So there, for instance, the reason that Acharya Dharmakirti is giving to show that our aggregates are the nature of suffering, or dukkha, he says, our aggregates are dukkha because they are the base where we experience suffering. So that's how a syllogism would work. So when you're, like Rinpoche mentioned, if you go back down and you're sitting on your cushion, you would sit on your cushion and you would look at yourself and you want to understand whether what we are, our aggregates, if you will, our body and mind, are the nature of dukkha or not. And the reason that is being given is they are the nature of dukkha because whatever problems arise, we experience them on our aggregates. And so when you're then analyzing this thing, the first maybe objection that we have is no, we don't really experience suffering on our aggregates. That's when something intervenes. And so you have issues with accepting that our aggregates are where you experience suffering. That could be one initial resistance. And then the next resistance is just because it's something that makes you experience suffering, it doesn't mean that its nature has to be one of suffering. And so when you structure an argument in this way, then I guess you get a little more clarity on what Acharya Dharmakirti is trying to explain about what the Buddha meant when he was talking about all contaminated things are the nature of suffering. So that's how you would then develop that argument. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And there's so many words, that it sounds complex, but in some ways it's not. There's just three moves, right?
It's
The
literally
first,
two moves. Yeah, even less. It's two moves.
there's two moves. Like the first move is, well, we can break up the first into two
Yeah.
in a way. You say,
Yeah,
consider, there's a subject, there's a thing, so consider this thing. Here we're talking about aggregates, and you want to say something. We always want to say things about things. So you say, there's these aggregates, and they're in the nature of suffering. And then basically that's the first, and then the second one is
Yeah.
prove it. Here's what's your reason.
exactly.
But because they're the basis of suffering. And that's just three moves. So then when you think about it like that, and then you say, well, basis isn't nature, let's go,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it'll develop. You'll say either they're not the basis, or you'll say just because they're basis, it doesn't mean it has to be their nature. And then naturally your argument will develop or your thought process will develop. And then someone will think differently. You'll have to try and test it. Like you said, you have to try and explain it to them. And through explaining it, you gain certainty. It's very effective, essentially. It's really, really effective.
Well, then there's sort of like only two answers in a way as well. It's either the reason is not correct, so that's wrong. You're wrong. It's not a base, or you're right, but it doesn't prove what you're trying to prove.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's
So
intuitive, isn't it?
yeah.
It's so intuitive.
Yeah.
This way of thinking is so intuitive. We already have it. It's just we've not been taught it. It's like someone who's really good at music, but they've never really learned the underlying rules of music, suddenly you learn it and you can do so much with it. It's kind of like that almost.
Fabrizio, I'm wondering how well this logical arguments work with your wife. Can you use this in home?
You try that too and see, you never succeed. You know that. That is an impossible argument. Totally impossible. But this is another thing that it comes to my mind, being a Westerner and also being in so many classes, Dharma classes, and when you talk to people about analyzing correct with correct thinking, many times it comes out the question, how do I know that I'm thinking correctly? How do I know that by thinking in this way, really I'm going into the right direction? This is something that I don't find very much in the Tibetan community, but the Western, I don't know in United States, but I'm telling you here, there's so much, like even explaining very basic things of the path of correct thinking. How do I know that my thinking is correct? How do I know that that is the correct understanding of reality? So it's like there is they're missing. We are missing the tools, the basic tools to educate our mind in recognizing correctly what is it within and without. So the debate does that. The critical thinking makes you in a position that you are on the top of it. You totally know when your mind is correct, when your mind is wrong, what is going on. I think you get to that point. So even from the point of view of a very basic psychology of the life of the individual, the life that you have inside yourself, what do I do now? How do I know that this is that? I mean, not talking about Dharma, just in general, this is the right way of doing it. How do I know that it is good for me to abandon this and to adopt that one? It makes an incredible difference, even in the normal life, which your daily life, work, dealing with your family, as you say, with your wife, with your kids, and actually, Atisha was very kind to point me out a book written by a Western guy who did some debate, and he wrote a book applying into the normal thing, like the reason that you get upset with your kid because he's done this and that, and you have a reason in your mind, how to check whether that reason is established or not, that reason pervades or not. So in other terms, whether you're right or wrong in doing that, in relating with that situation in that way. So I think this is it's incredibly interesting, incredibly interesting.
Awesome, lovely. Rinpoche, what's possible? We see these people debate. What can be what's reasonable for us, do you think, to be able to learn? You talked about going to the Serkong Institute and then, heading out into the world, right? And being able to evaluate things for yourself. Can you give us a little bit of hope that that is possible, that we can go and we can learn to think correctly in this way?
I think so because because as I said at the beginning, that many of so-called the Buddhist practitioners sometimes they never touch the ground of the liberation. They never have an idea of liberation, and then they start doing so many so-called Dharma, and then that was such a greatest worry for the people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the compassion ones. So once you try to reach to the real Dharma, which is the very related to liberation path. And then we will always ask ourselves, what is liberation? What is liberation? So then, in order to understand that, you need to directly listen to the Four Noble Truths. Otherwise, there's no options. Without each and every day having a little bit of investigation towards your mind, and then studying on Four Noble Truths, without that, how much you practice, how much you study, it's so dry. So, in order to do that, because the liberation, it is directly related to the viewpoint. So the viewpoint, without the help of a critical thinking, which when we say three objects, one is uh, the manifest, and the second is slightly hidden, and then like very hidden. So the viewpoint is slightly hidden. So without the approach, Buddha says this approach to that has to do with the investigation, with the analytical meditation. You have to analyze that. So without this the critical thinking, with this kind of without that kind of structure, we will never get to that point. So for this reason, the big monasteries are doing it, like Sarah Tibung Kanten and other, like Sajjan Nyingma, the great schools, they are doing it. His Holiness encourage this way of approach. But of course, we know the lay society, lay people, we are so busy in our own world. So even though we like the idea of liberation and wanted to practice Dharma, but we don't have this kind of we cannot contribute this huge amount of time towards going to the monastery and study for years and continuously years and years for like 18, 20 years. For that reason, the Serkong Institute is bringing this kind of platform within like 4 years, just for like studying like 2 months studying and debating, and then going through the Four Noble Truths, and then a little bit of a pramana, and a little bit of the middle way, entering to the middle way, and then a little bit of understanding of the Abhisamaya Alankara, which normally people, we really don't know that Abhisamaya Alankara is so required. The people who is looking for fully enlightenment. So, like a great Atisha, why many people does not have a great understanding why Lama Atisha has to go to Indonesia, putting all this effort, almost like 13 months on the boat, that kind of boat, Can you imagine? Why? For the Abhisamaya Alankara, my goodness. So all this, we need to have some understanding with the most three important, the Pramana, and then middle way, the entering to the middle way, and then the Abhisamaya Alankara. These are the one of the three main subjects to get the liberation and then to get the full enlightenment. These three are the one of the most important. So if you don't bring any of these kind of practices in your practice, then that's what I called before, the practice is so dry, so dry. So for that reason, Serkong Institute is helping to give you some kind of the kind of imprint, or to maybe to water the imprint of yours. So that's why this kind of program we design through the help and the guidance of my teacher, who from the young age, who is really had a compassion towards to the world, how to reach out and how to bring His Holiness vision into this kind of a course. So we have this kind of materials and then curriculum, and we have a wonderful teacher like Atisha and Farbizio. So that's why, that's why it sounds like a promotion now. Yeah, it's a promotion.
No, thank you, Rinpoche. It's so helpful to hear that. That's so clear, and I think people getting a good sense of what's so special about this endeavor. And so now it's time to move into audience questions. So everyone, please, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. I believe there was already a question that Fabrizio pointed out to Atisha. And so I'll just ask that question now, Atisha. How is this course going to be different for the students who are already studying with Atisha? I lost the question. From the Italian school, Nalanda and Serkong Institute, how are these will be different?
I think this one is the one that it's still the same format as the one that we've been doing in India with Rinpoche and Rinpoche's teacher with Ken and also my teacher. But thanks to Fabrizio, the one that is going to happen in Italy is happening with the University of Pisa. And so maybe Fabrizio knows a little bit more about those details. The nice thing is that being in collaboration with the university, I think the students, it's a little bit shorter than the one that's done in India, because in India we do it for 2.5 months. This is for 6 weeks. And so it's going to be a little more compact, but it's more essentially the same format. And being a university program, I think there's also university credits that are along with it. So I think that's one of the, and then it's done in Italy, unlike the one that we do in India. That's the main difference that I think.
Great. Fabrizio, did you have something to add there?
No, well, Atisha covered the point. The good thing of taking this program to the West, as Serkong Rinpoche and his teacher wanted to do since the beginning, and I believe is also the view of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is just to get into the mainstream education, and to get into the mainstream education, you need to go into academic level. And as I spoke to you also a few weeks ago, it has been a difficult thing to get these topics at an academic level, because also the format of the program is so different. It's so different from the normal front classes where the teacher tells you things, and then you write down things, you go home, you study, and then you learn things. Here, you need to live it. You need to be there. It's like a retreat. And then you practice and develop the critical thinking debate on the different subjects. So this is something that the University of Pisa was able to see as something really incredible, so innovative. Making on the table a program which has never been done before in this way in the West could be so appealing and so interesting to people, really to get a full immersion into this program. So this is what we are going to try to do. I hope we have success. I mean, it's just like we start to put into motion the wheel for the first time, in a sense, at least here in Italy. I know before our incredible people who were there before, like Jeffrey Hawkins and also Bob Thurman, all started the university level, the Dharma at the university level, but I don't think it went down to this level of immersion, full immersion. It was just a class, and then you go home and you do your thing. You don't just take off 6 weeks, 2 months, and you just do that. This is one thing. The second thing is, I think the question also to Atisha was, this is my thinking actually, is related to a program that Atisha does online on learning debate. And many people also have asked me, because this program was developed at the beginning here in Italy, how is this Serkong Institute going to be different from the program that Atisha is teaching online with debate, and then there is a retreat, a year retreat. So maybe this could be good to know for people who want to go from that program also to take this program, because there is a big number of people who are already following the debate. So I think from my point of view, the difference is that this is an immersion, a full immersion. Is not something done online, is in presence. And the text, the particular text that Rinpoche mentioned as most important, the Pramana, and Madhyamaka, and Parchin, the Abhisamaya Lankara, the essence of them is going to be put under the evaluation of your critical thinking. So I think this is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it's very extraordinary, especially the you can get credits with an academic institution and a very
yes.
very
That
respected.
I didn't elaborate on that because Atisha already mentioned, but the university. So this is almost like a master, in a sense, very similar to a master, and is geared to postgraduated and teachers already. Teachers that are going to get university credits, international university credits. And I know for sure because the professors from their side, the professors who are heading the University of Pisa, they told me that they would like this to become an actual university program, like running for a span of 3 years. And this would be really so incredible. So we are heading, if we're able to start this, we are heading to that direction for sure.
Amazing, amazing. So more questions are coming in. I'm gonna and some of them aren't directed to a person in particular. So I'll ask the question, and then Rinpoche, if you'd like to speak to it, and then direct it to the right person. First question goes something like this. It's from someone who's had a lot of experience learning from teachers and found that sometimes even when there's interaction, there's sort of like something's getting in the way of a clear answer. So there's sort of like this miscommunication. So, the teacher and student can be having a lot of back and forth, but the answer just seems not to be, they're just not, the bullseye is not being hit, if I can say something like that. And so they've had this experience, even when they've had the chance to talk to teachers, and even when they've tried their best to make their question as clear as possible. And so how is this approach, helping there be this clarity of question and answer in this teaching style?
The Atisha can answer much better, but for me, when you said bullseye, so when you start shooting the arrow on the bullseye, you cannot, at the first attempt, you cannot do it. So you need to give a few tries. And then the most important is you really need to enjoy. You need to enjoy while doing it. Even you make like many mistakes, but still you really wanted to wish like, I can do it. I really want to do it. So once you give up this and then you start practicing, then you are not going back to that class again. So you need to have such a strong goal while you are doing it. And then you need to feel always pushed by a gentle push by a teacher or a classmates or your support saying that we can do it. This is something that we need to do it. And that's something a gentle push what His Holiness is always giving us. So this critical thinking, even my teacher and myself, Atisha, we all went through that. It's not it's like a unique case. It's a common case. We always go through that, and then we come back and we start thinking about it. It does not become clear at the one giving a one kind of a thought and second time, third time. Sometimes you will get this point after a few years when you need to like, wow, that's the reason why 2 years ago my classmates say something like that, and then I say something like that. My teacher wasn't very happy to answer. Now I'm getting some point from there. This is the gift from patience and the right patience with the right effort. So yeah, so Atisha, can you bring some kind of something add on that?
I think what Rinpoche said is how it is. This question, I resonate with it a lot because I used to feel very muddled in my way of asking questions. And then a lot of times my inability to really kind of hit the nail on the head with my question in the way it was being communicated, that's something that I've suffered a lot. And sometimes I still do. And when I do, I just revert to debate structure because it clarifies your thought and it clarifies your ability to communicate your thought. And if the person who you're communicating it to is also versed in this way of speaking, then that communication and that clarification of doubt becomes a lot more effective. So I've suffered this question a lot, and I find being able to articulate your doubt or your thinking in this way is very, very, it's like it accelerates your ability to get clarity. Yeah, just that. I would just add that. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is, where is the Serkong Institute? I'm a college teacher of Buddhism in the US, and I want to know if students can study there for a short time. I'm a long-term practitioner who received 2 initiations in the US from the former Serkong Rinpoche in 1982. And I just want to add, if people are asking questions in the chat, if they could put it in the Q&A, that'll just make it a bit easier. I'll try and find it. But anyway, so that was the question, Rinpoche.
No, okay. Serkong Institute is based in India, in Dharamsala. So, and then you can also, as you know, that we are going to do this program, a little bit shorter program, normally what we do in India, in Italy, in June. So you can go on our website, Serkong Institute website, and you will find us there. And then I'm so happy that a long-time Dharma practitioner never hesitates to find us and then wanted to connect to that. That's a great teaching. That's a great message to all of us. So thank you for, and then as now the person who's asking this question is somehow we have the connection. So also he's said he's a professor. That's great. That's great. So yeah. So most important, our program is designed actually for the people who are practicing Dharma. So the many of us practice Dharma so much, but somehow there are so many cases that they drop out practicing Dharma, saying, I have given my time, energy, and everything to my teacher, and through my teacher's behavior, now I'm going to say goodbye to Dharma. That's very sad. That's very sad. It's not that it shows truly that as the person who's saying that, with respect to that person, I wanted to say this very clearly because Buddha himself said, rely on my teaching, not me. That is the something that, as we normally learn about four reliances, isn't it? Four reliances. So not relying on a person, but on a Dharma. So for this case, our main goal is not going with the kind of directly to the Guru devotion and so on, but we really wanted to give you the clear understanding. Whenever you practice Dharma, aren't you forgetting something? The main, like my teacher would always do this kind of a syllogism practice, which is very, very good teaching to all of us, and to special for me and Atisha and Farbizio. And he says that, like, sometimes he does all these tantric practices and the commitments, and then he will stop in the middle of the practice and says, "Is this Dharma? What I'm doing right now, is this Dharma?" And then he will do syllogism. It is not Dharma, because there's nothing to do with bringing down or reducing the self-grasping and the ignorance. So this is not Dharma. And then he redo it with a great joy. So this is something that we wanted to bring this kind of platform, which we felt such great inspiration. So for this professor, I cannot say much on here. This is just like a teaser and a trailer. So in order to, just kidding, huh? So this is something I wanted to share. Yeah.
Thank you, Rinpoche. And we'll put links to Serkong Institute and also to the advanced training course at the university level in the chat. So please check that out. The next question is, does the course on March 27th, the debate between wisdom and ignorance, is it alive? Live, please. How is it? So it's actually recorded videos. We recorded Rinpoche a few months ago, and so that will be out. So you can watch that at your own pace. And then I think we are doing a special discount for people tonight. So check out the chat. There'll be just for tonight a special discount for people who want to join the course. But you can. It starts March 27th. You'll be able to do that at your own pace. So that's quite a different thing. And then, Rinpoche, people are asking if a person with limited education can study at this level that we're talking about.
Limited education, what does that mean?
Maybe they didn't finish college or something like that.
Of course. I'm a limited person. I never went to college or finish anything much, but I study. I really enjoy it. So why not you, right? So of course, because our program is designed not only for the people who have educated the highest of highest and everything, but person who does not have any understanding of Dharma, we go with that. So because we go with we will start from the beginning, that we will, like my teacher and Atisha, we always ask the students, like, what is Dharma? What do you think? Give me some kind of idea. We are not here to debate that you are wrong and we are right. We wanted to discuss with that. What is Dharma? What is Dharma? And then sometimes we go so many answers that at the end of the day, you will get so tired of, we will say, no, that's not Dharma. That's not Dharma. That's not Dharma. And then you get tired. What is Dharma? And then we come like, yes, this is Dharma. So this is our program is not only designed for the people who has already have a certain level of education. Even person does not have any education, they can join it.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. That's a great advice. Maybe there's
another question. Was it me who just went off?
No, you're here.
Oh, okay. So suddenly everything was frozen. Okay. So for Daniel, for the
yeah.
enrolling of the Serkong Institute in Italy, the enrolling will start in few days, and maybe maybe they can go through you. In a sense, I can give you I will give you the way of enrolling to the Serkong Institute, and also as Rinpoche said, that is not that is open only for postgraduated or teachers or at the university level. We also have a private channel for those who don't have that higher education to be able to enroll it in a different way through Manjushri Lotsawa Association. Yes.
Okay, and so if people want to find out more, where should they go about the university course?
Well, university is not ready yet. They told me
Okay.
that in 3-4 days they will be ready, so they're going to come up with a landing page where people can connect and do the enrolling. So Manjushri Lotsawa will do that at the same time. We don't want to come up before the university.
Yes, okay, so then people can just write to us at Wisdom and we'll forward the information to
Yes,
them.
I'll
Yeah.
forward the information to you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And then Rinpoche, there's a question here, maybe the person asking for advice. They, have been studying and following Buddhism since 2002, and they're wondering about, at a certain point, everyone needs to live the Dharma and share the Dharma in their daily life. Of course, it's good to, that could be at a monastery or at a school and it's debating and stuff, but like how to bring this after studying for so long into, how do we enter into this into our life and study as well?
You mean the debate or?
I think someone who's been studying for so long, how do they bring it into their life as well? I think that's maybe the question.
Oh, okay. All these studies on the Buddhism, you mean?
Yes, Rinpoche. Yeah.
Okay. So, as we all know, this practice of Dharma is very individual. So when you are facing so many problems, like I wanted to say this because even when I learned this the terminology called the no probation, when the students debate no probation, this is such a mantra actually. Like a person who really put this kind of when normally you adapt this way of thinking, when you ask the question to Fabrizio with this kind of debate, analytical, critical thinking, uh, do you use this with your wife and children? So, of course, when you listen to so many like annoying things that sometimes your the partner or yourself actually makes so many kind of a big scene, uh, even it's a small case, you make such a huge outcome there, and then sometimes you remember this mantra called no probation. And deep inside, if you can have an awareness of that here, oh, that is a big deal. But you really don't need to say it loudly towards your partner, but you can exhibit. Normally, why anger and self-grasping and everything grows so strongly within us because we see there is a probation. But then you start with saying, yeah, I need to accept in a way, but there's no probation. Or then that becomes such a great practice actually. So the practicing Dharma, the whole actually is to maintain such a great relation with others, and then to gentle towards yourself. So without this help of understanding of Dharma, and then we always will have a rough life. That's somehow we know it. So we shouldn't forget to bring, like, this is just tiny, this is a very tiny tip from this critical thinking of the no privation. And then, of course, you can add so many other things: renunciation, bodhicitta, loving kindness. You can add everything in there. So, yeah, we will. It's actually Dharma is it's to if you make a very beautiful cake without the strawberry on the top of that, it looks boring. So the Dharma is something like that, actually, to enjoy your life, to make our life much more beautiful. We need this. We need this.
Rinpoche, that's brilliant. No pervasion. I think that'll be helping me tomorrow.
This
Straight
is so
from day
wonderful.
one.
What Rinpoche
But
said is really wonderful.
be careful, but don't say it loud, huh?
No. You need to keep that for yourself. There's no pervasion by accept it. I accept it, you know. So I think that is the big turning point that Rinpoche was pointing out.
Rinpoche, there's another question about Sema, and that, this pramana is crucial. Do you think that strong grounding in pramana is crucial for developing, the type of awareness that exposes, your bakchaks, your karmic imprints, they're saying shadow patterns, and is this required? And because many contemporary Vajrayana approaches seem not to, or underemphasize pramana, and so that's the question. Like, how important is this part of the teachings?
That's a good question.
Yeah, Atisha, you want to answer that? Do it. It's a
Rinpoche, I don't know
challenge.
anything about Tantra. I can't say anything. This is better. Rinpoche
No, I
takes
don't
it.
know the Tantra too. The most important, I just wanted to, because I know Adisha can do it and Farbizio can answer that too. But why do you rush to Tantra? That's the biggest question. Without good understanding of liberation, without good understanding of bodhicitta, why are you rushing to Tantra? That is the biggest question. Many people, we like big names, big titles. We are not very practical sometimes. We don't sit down. And many people who are Dharma practitioners who receive so many initiations, but at the end of the day, with all these big names, what are you going to do with that? Actually, when we say liberating path and ripening path, so if we don't have a understanding of a liberating path, then how much you have the ripening path? What are you going to do with this? So especially if the person does not have a good understanding of liberation, why he wants to become Buddha? So this we should rush, but because Tantra is teaching us no time to waste. You will have to use all our energy to become such a great person. That's method. The whole point is, what about this self-grasping? The problem you have here, we are some practitioners. I'm in a mood today, so I will say it. So people who maybe visualize yourself as a deity and have a great the divine pride, but not having any understanding of liberation. Oh my goodness, what kind of form is that? That is not a Buddhist Yamantaka. That's not a Buddhist. So he looks powerful. Okay, maybe he has this figure or form, but deep inside, you're not having any understanding of Four Noble Truths, no cessation, no understanding of the methods. Why you are doing it? right? You don't need a Buddhist approach to have this kind of form. The Hindus who have that, and the others, they can do it. So this is why we need to rush, but we need to know when to rush. So for that, I think mm, my kind teacher, I wanted to bring that up because normally my teacher is such a great teacher. He always says to his students, unless we don't study and debate, and then how much we don't touch the ground or the four noble truths, especially pramana, and then there's no another way to become a good Buddhist. But then at the same time, one of the students, a long-time Dharma practitioner, went to my teacher and he said, I don't want to study tantric. I'm not really into tantric because I'm really into the pramana and all this entering to the middle way. I'm really wanted to. Then my teacher said, why you don't want to practice tantra? So, oh, tantra is just something. I really wanted to be one, a really practical. My teacher said, if you're saying I don't want to study tantra, that means you really don't want to become a Buddha. That he really reminds. But he'd never rush someone to become a Buddha. But we need to be very careful in why we, in a Buddhist, we say we need to practice Tantra. Every time we need to remember, I wanted to be Buddha. That's why. So in order to become Buddha, not having any understanding of liberation and to not have a compassion to give the liberation to others, so that is not a compassion at all. So for that, we need to see what is liberation actually. So all these are so connected. So just because Atisha and Farbizio really don't want to say anything on that, so that I have to say something.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. So helpful. And we're coming to the end of our time. So I thought maybe we just go around once with any final things to share for the night on, I guess, the topic, which is Buddhist education in the modern world. And I think Fabrizio, it must be nearly like 3 a.m. for you. So why don't you,
Yeah, man.
why don't you start? Then we go to Atisha and finish with Rinpoche. Fabrizio, please.
I'm just grateful that all this is happening. I'm grateful that I'm able to stay up at the 3 o'clock in the morning to support my teacher's vision and His Holiness the Dalai Lama's, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama visions. And I'm grateful to you, Daniel, because you resonate immediately to this in such a positive and supportive way, opening up your the doors of wisdom publications, and which is really, really, really kind. And Atisha, who's really an exceptional young teacher, the most exceptional young teacher I know, actually. I know Atisha since the time he was born because I was so close to his family. So I knew him throughout his life, and he has blossomed into this incredible capacity of teaching in Hindi, in Tibetan, in English, in Italian, with such a patterns of debate and critical thinking, and really grounded in Dharma. And Rinpoche is, for me, is just bigger than the Everest mountain as a teacher since the past life, and he reflects completely the incredible quality that he had before. There, he fully brings those qualities in his young form, and is a paladin of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's view, which for us is really very important. I want to apologize if we are not during this session ready for the student who want to enroll into the summer program from the middle of June till the 24th of July, but within the space of couple of days, probably at the beginning of the next week, they're going to be available. And I hope many of the people related to wisdom in the United States, many of my friends, Dharma families will enroll this program and come to Italy. It's the place is fantastic. Is in Volterra, is like a medieval town, very famous in the middle of Tuscany, and the place where we do it is a place where normally people go and take and do courses and stuff. So there is gym, there is swimming pool, it's full swing Western style, and yet with Atisha, with Rinpoche, with the Nalanda text, and the Italian food, the Italian weather. So it's going to be really a wonderful campus for people who come there. Thank you.
Now that's a sales pitch. I love it. I'm there.
Yeah.
Atisha, please.
Thank you, Daniel. No, just two things. The first one was thank you personally, because I was always looking at the podcasts, and this breadth of how much you've covered is really helpful for a Western audience. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if the Dharma has to carry on, this is just like a personal concern, but also I think it's been voiced by many masters, including His Holiness especially. If it has to carry on, it has to be taken over by a lay community also. And that lay community also needs to be able to do it in other languages. In fact, I remember on one occasion, His Holiness said, when we look at the Nalanda masters, the way we look at them now, it seems like they spoke in Tibetan, but they didn't. So even the tradition as we have it today is translated from another one. There is no reason why it cannot happen in other languages. It will definitely happen. And so your personal effort on doing this and having so much exposure has been really important. Also, your perceptiveness about all of these various angles. So that I really appreciate that. So I wanted to thank you for that, because I think it has to start happening. And this is just one such attempt. And hopefully this might click. And just the other concern, which I find is a big concern for us Westerners, is we make a big divide between intellect and emotion. And we kind of delegate reasoning to some sort of dry intellectual pursuit. But I just wanted to say that that's really not the case, especially in my own experience, but also otherwise, where it's answering to certain underlying emotional states that we have, and it's testing them. So there is a very strong connect between intellect, reasoning, reflection, analysis, and the emotional response that it generates. And that's where it has a very transformative kind of role in one's own personal life, and therefore at a community level as well. So that's something that I think we need to start maybe reevaluating these older traditions, because they have a very practical value and also community kind of social value. Just that. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Atisha. I love the work you're doing. And Rinpoche, it's always such a blessing for wisdom to do anything with you, Rinpoche. So to have you back on the podcast again, my gosh, we are so fortunate. But Rinpoche, please give us some inspiration.
No, I take refuge in wisdom. So thank you for all the work. So not only just today's discussion, but all the wonderful things that wisdom is doing to reaching out the sentient beings through this kind of platform, and what you guys have been doing for decades. That's incredible. I rejoice. So now I wanted to thank not only you, all the staffs, because we are all dependent to each other. So all the team. Now my two colleagues have already kind of covered up so many things, and now most important, I just wanted to remind each and everyone, the Buddha has given us a kind of a hint through his teaching when he said, to flourish Dharma, my students, my followers will do it. But then he also give us this very, very kind of scary part he mentioned is he said, degeneration of my teaching will be not from some outsiders, but his own followers. So that really frightens us a bit. What does that really mean, actually? So that means if the follower, in the name of the follower of Buddha Dharma, or the name of the Buddha's teaching, if we don't check, as Buddha himself said, as a goldsmith checks the gold, if we never do that very well, then it's the degeneration of the Buddha Dharma. So we really need to be so careful, the teacher or the students. First, don't rush to become a Buddhist. Once you become a Buddhist, you really need to have a strong kind of a decisive the belief that through some guidelines from a teacher who really can give you the definition of a liberation. Not only just saying, when I see this master, when I hear his teaching, oh, I felt so good. Don't run through this emotions, but sometimes we in the West we say, follow your hearts. But we really need to train ourselves what kind of heart, what kind of things that we need to listen. Sometimes in Buddhism, we say we are deluded, and then we listen to our own heart. Sometimes there would be some kind of dead end there. So we need to be super careful on that. So for this reason, it's a very friendly reminder, because now His Holiness is in his 90s, and we witness that he's not giving so much teachings as normally we used to get. So, and then we are so fortunate he's with us at the moment. Now, if we really wanted to repay his kindness on his 90th birthday, so the most best offering is listening and recalling the teachings and then his advice. So to not a rush to become a Buddhist or to become Buddha, but checking up whether your goal that as in a Buddhist, become a Buddhist, if that right, are you on the right path or not? So you really need to check day and night for that. Otherwise, there are so many cases for 30, 40 years, and then at the end you say like, Dharma didn't help me, and then I really don't know why I chose this path. That's a very sad story. So because today Tibetan laws are very auspicious, I said a little bit unauspicious things, but because prevention, to prevent something from something bad, we need to say something on a negative side, so that we really become more careful on that side. So that's what I wanted to say. So I wanted to thank again Wisdom for organizing this, and whether others really enjoy or not, I really enjoyed this session with you guys. And I wanted to thank both my friends, Atisha and Farbizio, for sharing their thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, Atisha. Thank you, Fabrizio. And thank you, everyone at home joining us. It's such a pleasure to be with you all. And I hope you have a good day, a good night, wherever you are in the world. And then Fabrizio, go to bed.
I'm going to have a good short night. Thank you so much, Daniel. And thank you, everybody. Rinpoche.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Atisha, thank you.
You too.
Ciao.
You too.
Ci vediamo.
Yeah. Holiness always says we need to practice something very relevant. And that he always says Nalanda tradition very important. So this book really represents how without the help of Nalanda tradition you cannot explore into the world of Buddhism.
My name is Serkong Rinpoche, too, because my predecessor is known as Serkong Rinpoche, and I'm known as his reincarnation.
On this path of journey of Buddha, you might find so many amazing teachers and support. But if this kind of support, if this kind of teaching is missed, then I think maybe it will be very sad. Actually, we are losing our goal. I'm not such a perfect teacher to give this kind of share this kind of knowledge, but I thought like at the end if I could say something like this, that will bring a huge offering to His Holiness what He has been so kind to me, so that if I could just repeat and remind this, so that will be a great service for His Holiness and for the sake of sentient beings. If you lose this, and then how much you practice others, it will never take you to the liberation. It will never give you the real meaning of the Dharma there. So you need to come back. So this is the main reason why this text becomes very important as a great reminder.
Milri poche to betu